What's going on, everyone? Gilman with the Wellthy Stocks, back with another video today, taking a look at Moderna stock, ticker symbol MRNA. I know the stock's been dropping for a little bit now, and typically I'll take a look at the stock only and kind of discuss what I see with the stock coming up in terms of future support and resistance levels, which we will do in this case as well. But I also want to take a look at Moderna as a company, including revenues, what they have coming in the pipeline, kind of do a little bit of valuation work with you guys here to see what Moderna stock could do in 2021. Share with you guys why I am currently holding Moderna because of what I think can happen in 2021, and then see if you guys either agree with me or disagree with me. I'll share some links with you guys as well if you want to do a little bit of research of your own. But yeah, we'll do that today. First and foremost, thank you guys so much for being a part of my 2020. This channel has grown thanks to you guys and your support you've shown me. I was able to give back to my local food bank with the money I made from this channel in December, so check that video out if you'd like. But thank you guys so much, seriously, and I hope that you'll be a part of my 2021 as we continue to grow, learn more about the stock market, and try to make some money along the way as well. So let me hit record. We will get right into the video. As we could see, Moderna still is falling. It's been falling since, really 12/9 after receiving the FDA approval. It's been falling, which has been really confusing for a lot of people. But what we have to understand is the stock still is up, over 6 times what it was, earlier this year. So just something to kind of keep in mind. It was trading in the 17s over here, back in, in February of 2020. So someone who's in at that point is still up nicely. Now, I know a lot of people are up kind of in the 130s, 140s, even higher than that, and are continuing to hold, hoping for a comeback. So what I'll share with you guys is what I see in the company, and then we'll kind of take a look at the stock. So first and foremost, right, I shared this with you guys last week, but as of December 14th, which is just a couple weeks ago, the US placed an additional order of 100 million doses, for about $1.68 billion. So that's about $16.80 a dose. This raises the US to 200 million doses, which is enough to vaccinate 100 million people. As you know, there's 2 doses for each person, 28 days apart, I believe. I know one of them's 21 and one of them's 28. I think Moderna is 28, but I could be wrong here. Point being, they got an order of another $1.68 billion. We're talking about a company that didn't even do $1 billion of revenue. I think it was like a couple $100 million in revenue in all of 2020, right? And now they have orders that are expected to take them to tens of billions of dollars, right? Over $10 billion. Let's take a look at this, right? So the other thing that I want to point out is, so 1.525 billion for the first 100 million doses, 1.68 billion for the next 100 million doses. The other thing that I want to point out is that the US still has an option to purchase another 300 million doses down the line. If we even take the lower price, let's just say 1.5 billion, that could mean an additional $4.5 billion for Moderna if we do take that. Now, understand that the US only has like 300 and something million people. Let's call it 400 million, 360, 70, I think is the last time I checked. So we don't necessarily need all 500 million doses, because we have to understand that, Pfizer has also been supplying them over 100 million doses. So not all of them are going to be Moderna, but I think a lot can come from Moderna. Now, the one thing that I will say that is good about Moderna is, as we've talked about, Pfizer's vaccine needs to be stored at very, very low temperatures. Moderna's can be stored I think in a normal fridge, right? Or in a normal lab, whereas Pfizer's need to go in a specialized fridge, specialized lab, all that good stuff. So actually, I lied when I said they had 100 million in revenue last year. This article says they only had 60 million in revenue last year, right? So this is the number I was talking about. They are expected to rake in $13.2 billion in COVID vaccine revenue next year, which is great news for the stock. They're saying 10 to 15 billion. Anyway, over $10 billion is what they're expecting. They had 20 million in 2019, they had 60 million in sales. I think in 2020 they had 200 something million in sales. But that being said, I think that, you know, it's going to be a great year for Moderna coming up because of the vaccine sales. Now, once COVID is done, first things, we don't know if the COVID vaccine is going to be a one-time thing or a repeating thing. If it's a repeating thing, it's good news for Moderna because this could be a, you know, repeating revenue for them over the next couple of years. If it's a one-time thing, then that is not as great of a news. But the great news with that is this is the first time they've been able to kind of prove their mRNA, the messenger RNA way of the way that this vaccine works, which can be applied across various other things. So I think that, you know, down the line, they have various cancer therapeutics, they have other vaccines that they're working on, and this could be great news for those vaccines moving forward as well. But that's the one sort of risk that I see in Moderna stock, is that yes, they have $13 billion in revenue, but what we really need is for them to show investors, hey, what happens beyond next year, right? Sure, we have $13 billion coming in 2021, but what happens in 2022? Are they going to go back to under $1 billion in sales because they don't have the COVID vaccines to deliver? I think that's the big red question, the big kind of red flag right now, the question that everyone has. That's sort of worrying people, but I do think that, you know, with the vaccines alone, they should have a monster year, and hopefully with that continue to develop some other, you know, therapeutics, and hopefully if we see some good news, we could see this stock rocketing as well. This is another article by the Motley Fool, published in December 18th, whether or not it will hit $200 in 2021. I don't know necessarily that it's going to hit $200 in 2021. That's not my goal. I am long Moderna. I believe in Moderna. I was able to average my price down to, I think, $113 or $114. I think my goal with the stock is for it to hit high 140s, low 150s in 2021. I like to go in with more of a realistic number, and I do think that that number is very realistic for the stock. That's my goal for 2021, 140s to 150s. Hopefully it can get back there. Now, this article suggests that it could reach, considering its revenue potential, Moderna stock may reach 185 in the oncoming year. Even they say they're not confident about the stock hitting 200 so quickly, unless, kind of like I said, right? If it can surprise investors with production, market share, or sales gains. Those are kind of the key things, but you know, that's what I see in the stock moving forward. I do think my goal is around the 150 mark. Motley Fool, which is, you know, way more advanced than I'm just, you know, an individual investor. Motley Fool is a very well-known company. They think 185, so I'm not going to argue with that. That would be nice for me as well, right? But I'm going in with the expectation of it hitting 150 due to all the reasons I shared. So again, competitive advantage-wise, and then we'll get right into the stock. I think they're better off than Pfizer in a couple ways. Like I said, the temperature that Moderna needs to be stored at a lot better, for especially the US rural areas that maybe don't have the facilities that are needed for Pfizer. At the same time though, Pfizer is a lot more established and can produce more vaccines. Overall though, both Moderna and Pfizer have a big competition with the Oxford and AstraZeneca vaccines, since I think on a global scale, those might be a bit more affordable, and they might have more access to be delivered globally. I did share how Moderna is going to provide the South Korean government with, I think it was 40 or 50 million doses, but I think overall AstraZeneca and Oxford will be kind of the main players when it comes to global vaccine sales, but there's still almost 300 something million to be delivered within the US alone. So that was a lot of me rambling on about the stock, but I kind of want to share with you guys the reason why, you know, I am invested in the stock. There are stocks that I just look at, you know, the chart and what the chart tells me, but here the chart isn't too pretty, but I do think what the company has lined up is nice. Now, that being said, make sure to do your own research, make sure you agree with the research. I can share all this and the stock could still go below $100. It can go down to $80, $70, right? That's the stock market. You can't predict anything, but I do see potential in the stock, which is why I continue to hold. Make sure you do your research always before you decide to hold. So the last time I made this video, right, we talked about this lower high pattern, in many cases lower high, lower low pattern for Moderna stock moving forward. We had talked about this. We got one day of a higher high, higher low on Wednesday, and then Thursday we saw another red day. Moving forward, there are a couple things that I want to see with the stock. I want to see first and foremost it hold this 101 level that we've drawn here. Reason being, when we were down here, it acted as a little bit of a resistance, acted as resistance, and then acted as a little bit of a support on this day. That's the first level that I'm kind of watching it, which really nicely aligns with our 89 EMA as well at $100.41. I think that 101 or $100.41 really needs to hold for this stock to turn around, because the 89 EMA to me is kind of that final level of support. And as we could see, if we go back, to this level as well, there's one day when it broke below it, but even when it was kind of selling off, right, and it was making an ugly pattern kind of similar to it the way it is now back in October, right, support and the 89 EMA. So I'm not going to say pretty confident it'll hold, but I do think that it'll hold. Again, back in 924 when we felt it held. The only time it didn't hold was 904, but then we had a couple green days and we came back in like 4 or 5 days. So that's what I'm watching, right? I'm watching that 89 EMA closely, the 89-day exponential moving average, which is at $100.41, to see if we could see it either hold as good support, or if we could, even if we break below it, if we can come back. So over the next couple of days, right, we're at 104.47. Very first level is this 102.66. That was our low point on Thursday. Next is this 101, 141, and 100 being a mental resistance, all within $1 of each other, where I personally think the stock will bounce if it sees that level. What we really need is it needs to bounce either at 102 or here if it has a red day, and then push up. When it pushes up, right, we are coming to a really critical point. If I were to stretch this line out just a little bit, what we'll see is, let me get rid of the indicator and we'll see here, see this better. What we'll see is there'll come a point where if we push up, this line will act as a little bit of a resistance. So what we need the stock to do is hit this line, either come back and consolidate in this range and then break out, or when it hits this line, break out and start pushing back up, at which point, hopefully, when it comes back down, this line will act as a little bit of as a support, right? So break up, maybe resistance, push up, come back down, and this should be support. And then it can, hopefully go to the sky. And this 145 line that I've kind of drawn out that we found resistance at last time, that would be the next line that I'm watching. From a holistic perspective, there are definitely little lines of resistance that I'm watching along the way. That's if we see a red day, right? Ideally, we see a little bit of consolidation or a green day and we push out of this line. Since we are making a lower high pattern, it's really easy to figure out what the resistance is. It's just the high that we set previously, right? So the high that I'm watching it knock out is 113.55. Then this high of 118.94, then this of 122.88, and so on, right? And then it could keep breaking those highs since we're making lower highs every single day, and hopefully push up. So I know that was a lot of information and I rambled on for a bit, but I do really think that this stock is going to turn around. Make sure to do your own research and let me know down in the comment section if you agree, and I'd love to chat with you guys. Hopefully we break this upper line that's going down as resistance and we bounce off of this 89 EMA. If not, I'm going to really monitor this closely to see if we see a reversal coming soon, and if my hypothesis of where the stock is going will continue to hold. Just because I'm holding does not mean you need to. Just want to make that very clear. But I did want to share what I see. So hopefully we see that happen this week or early next week. Yeah, hopefully we have some green days to report. I'd love to, make a video on Moderna doing well. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Happy New Year to all of you guys. Let's remember to be a bit better every single day. And until next time.